over here.
Mortal Kombat 2021. It was good. But on the second watch, I'll admit, I set myself up for failure by setting my expectations a little too high going in. But let me just set the boundaries here before I continue on with the review. First segment, non-spoiler. Just gonna be talking about the movie and goods and bads and nothing spoilerific. Second segment will be all spoilers and stuff, spoiler talk, future hopes and speculation possibly, and third segment's just gonna be a bunch of jumbled up thoughts. So yeah, segment 1, non-spoiler review. Mortal Kombat 2021, while enjoyable, it has its issues. If you're a longtime MK fan or just a fan of the video games in general, you'll definitely get to see all the stuff that you want to see or have seen in the game. But there will be some creative liberties that they take where you're kind of questioning why are they doing that and why. I nearly delved into spoiler territory there, but I'm going to keep that on the back end till the spoiler segment. The fights are enjoyable, the character and costume designs are awesome, especially Sub-Zero and Scorpion's costuming. The Ko Young character, for me at least, is not interesting at all. They wanted to make him a family man and be the protagonist, but it seems like he's just kind of a side character, even though he does have an importance to the MK universe. The plot is pretty simple, but I'm just gonna say this from the jump. Don't go in expecting a tournament. It's more of a prologue to the Mortal Kombat tournament. And now I can see why they didn't include Johnny Cage, which would have been a waste of his character, honestly, for a prologue-like film. But a majority of the characters, they do what you expect them to do and act how they would act, like how they do in the video games. And then visually you can tell there's some CGI that's spotty at times, but it can pass off pretty well if you're able to immerse yourself into the movie. And if I was to rate it, I would rate it a 7 out of 10. It's enjoyable and visually pleasing, especially with all the gore, fatalities, and special moves that are shown. And you're definitely going to enjoy it if you're an MK fan, but if you're a novice or just you don't know anything about MK in general, you'll probably still enjoy the action, but the story, it will probably be lacking for you. End of the non-spoiler segment. On to the bigger spoiler section. So you have been warned. Now we enter the spoiler territory, so if you're still sticking around for some reason, I don't know why, get out now. This is your only warning. So jumping into the spoilers, I'll list down what I have a list of things that I like, dislike, and I'll just go through it. Sub-Zero, played by Joe Taslim from The Raid, and Night Comes For Us is amazing. And all the ice special effects are pretty dope, especially the Sub-Zero uses the ice clone in a very blink and you'll miss it sort of scene during the final fight. Not only that, but the use of the cryomancy, especially with how he forms the sword and throws all those spikes and manipulates the snow into like a hailstorm, is just fucking amazing. My only gripe with Sub-Zero's character though is that in the beginning, in the intro in feudal Japan, he is supposed to be Quan Chi. But we never get that reveal, so my speculation with that is Sub-Zero is the hitman, and Quan Chi is the one who put out the hit. Scorpion was there to serve a purpose, honestly. He's supposed to be part of the Hasashi bloodline and have it play back with Ko Young, because Ko Young's a descendant of the Hasashi family. Hiroyuki Sanada did well by playing Scorpion, especially in the beginning, where you can see him doing physical hand-to-hand combat, and then in the second, or final fight, I should say, where he's using a sword and less hand-to-hand combat. My only gripe with Scorpion's character is that at the end, he speaks the "get over here" line in English, but when he speaks to Cole again, it's all Japanese. I mean, I don't mean to be nitpicky, but wouldn't it have just worked better if he just spoke those lines in English, regardless of how few lines there were? I think it would have just made it less awkward. I should also not forget to mention the fatalities. If I were to rank the fatalities from best to least favorite, it'd be the hat saw, the flaming dragon, Scorpion's fire breath, Jax's head smash, Shang Tsung's soul suck, and the Kano heart rip. And I only say that's my least favorite fatality because of the reptile design. I mean, wouldn't it have killed him to just use Ninja Reptile? I mean, you could have just hired Eco from the raid and just put him in a reptile ninja-like costume and just start beating the crap out of Cole, Sonya, and Kano. That would have been a much better sight and less of a clusterfuck. But I'm not gonna. We'll get to that afterwards about those fucking fighting scene edits. Kano really did hold up the entire movie on his back, and he was mainly more of the I wouldn't say protagonist, but more of the character to be asking the questions of what the hell is this, or how do you do that, or how do I get my Arcana and shit like that. So for sure it was Cole. This is why I said Cole really felt more like a side character rather than the protagonist, even though he has ties to Scorpion. The additional things I think was interesting also was during the Feud of Japan scene where Bihan comes to kill Scorpion's family, and he speaks Chinese, but then he switches over to Japanese, and I'm just like, that's kind of interesting. There's a lot of Easter eggs, especially in the the conspiracy wall scene. You get like photos of little nods to Nightwolf, the Makoto warrior. Then you get like a picture of Kodo Khan, statue of Kodo Khan. I believe there's even a photo of the Wuxi Academy burning on fire. And the other character that really surprised me, and I was not hoping to have a lot of dialogue, was Cabal. Cabal kind of stole the show for me when he came onto the scene. I thought Cabal was just going to be a simple jobber who never speaks, just the silent protagonist type, but they really went ham on his character and made him like his MK11 counterpart, where he's the never shuts up, talks a lot type, and I really got that vibe from the movie Cabal, especially when he has dialogue between Kano, and you know that there's definitely the two have a connection because of the Black Dragon clan, and he's just there taunting him behind the electric fence, and I'd say he's the second character to have the best dialogue in the movie aside from Kano. Now on to the dislikes, which I'm going to try to be most brief on, while also explaining more in depth. The thing I didn't like the most is how the fight scenes were edited. Whoever edited this fucking movie and its fight scenes, don't ever edit a martial arts movie ever again. Please, don't. The only fights that I really liked that were well edited and not really cut to crap was the very first fight between Bihan and Hanzo, the fight between Sub-Zero and Jax, and then the final fight between Scorpion and Sub-Zero. And I guess you can include the Cole Young and Scorpion versus Sub-Zero. Those fights at least had enough impact, and the shots were held on long enough to where you can at least see a lot of movement before switching the camera angle to a different perspective to where you see them fighting. And it didn't really make your eyes work as hard as as a few of the other fights did later on in the movie, where you're just trying to constantly keep track of the movement with your eyes, and I'm not gonna lie, I sat in the theater watching it, and it kind of fucked with my eyes a bit with the editing. So I didn't really like that. I'm pretty sure everyone didn't like that at all. My other dislike would be the gore. Not necessarily how the gore was handled, but how the gore was cinematically handled, I guess you could say. For example, when Jax does the head smash on Raiko, and the moment he smashes his head, and then you see all that gore and like just the root of his neck, and it just cuts right to Jack reacting to the metal arms. I think would have just fared a little better. It might be a nitpick on my part. I think what would have fared the scene a little better is just having it linger on to the root of the head. Just like, you know how more horror movies do. They show the kill, or they build up to the kill, they show the kill, they linger on the gore for a bit and then show the killer's reaction. I think that's how they should have handled the gore just a little bit better instead of editing it that way. But I'm pretty sure that was to match the energy of the montage fight scene towards the end. And remember how I was mentioning clusterfuck of a fight scene edits? Yeah, the last few fights were a really big clusterfuck. From the moment they enter the void with Raiden, and they were making like game plans and stuff, they could have just split up the characters, and then from the moment segment it out into different fights. Like we can have the Jax versus Reiko fight, have that play all the way through, no cuts to any other fight, and then we go to the Kano versus Sonya round 2, where in the trailer park, and that goes all the way through, no cuts to any other fight, and then we get to Cole and Liu Kang versus Molina and Cabal, and then we have that Liu Kang versus Cabal segment, and then mixed in with a bit of Cole versus Molina, and then we can finally end it off with Molina getting shot by Sonya with her Arcana powers. Just having each fight be individualized would have helped it a lot more, rather than making it feel very bloated and just fast-paced. And I'm pretty sure, even though that was what the director was trying to go for, it wouldn't work for a movie with a lot of fight choreography. And the original character, Cole Young, in this movie, I didn't care about, honestly. As much as the movie tried to make me care for him, I didn't care at all, honestly. I mean, props to Louis Tan for being the most passionate, one of the most passionate members about the entire film, but the writers really screwed him over in the movie sense. They try to make him the not the guest character. What the hell am I saying? They try to make him the protagonist and the one to introduce all these MK lore to general audience. But he just felt like a side character that was just there to serve the purpose of summoning Scorpion, to me at least. Because he ties back to the Hasashi family, so he's meant to be how can I forget? There's a prophecy that they mentioned at the beginning of the movie, but then that kind of gets glossed over until the last few minutes, until Raiden says the prophecy has been fulfilled. So with the blood of Hanzo Hasashi and how they will unite a group of fighters, I'd say it could work in a good way, but also in a bad way. Because if it's Cole uniting all these fighters to battle Outworld, well, wouldn't that make him kind of an Alice character, like from the Resident Evil movie? And I don't even want to talk about those movies. Don't want to get me started with that. I think the movie doesn't make Cole like the character of Alice. Okay, never mind, that's a fucking lie. It makes him kind of like the Alice character when he's in the void, but when he's obsolete and doesn't have his Arcana yet, I think they do a good job of making him the average, everyday person, even though I don't care about his character. I'd say if they were to make a sequel, I would be fine with Cole being able to unite all the characters together, but then eventually dying and inspiring all the other fighters to take a stand and do whatever. You know, just if you have the Cole character there, you may as well make, just because of studio interference and needing the Cole character, you may as well have him go out on a high note and then give Liu Kang the spotlight. But that's just my bias talking, because I'm a Liu Kang main and grew up with that 95 MK movie, goddammit. And then I guess my latest, the biggest gripe I had the film the first time watching it, but not really the second time, was the dragon tattoo / Arcana gimmick, like where you can't have your special abilities unless you have this dragon marking. I didn't really like it at first because I thought it kind of took away the specialness of all the characters. Because, I mean, Liu Kang's supposed to be having fire powers just because he's able to have fire powers and not because of a dragon tattoo. So that really irked me. But upon second watch, I just said, whatever. It's a cool gimmick. It kind of limits each character in their specialities. and kind of explains how some of these powers thingamajigs work. And I guess it would be interesting to see a fighter that doesn't have the mark somehow come into the tournament and prove their worth. It could make for a good storytelling gimmick. So I used to dislike it, but now I'm just like, if it adds more to the story and isn't a carbon copy of the MK movies, like beat for beat, then I'm willing to accept it. I almost fucking forgot to mention. How could I forget to mention the music? I mean, sure, the music is not as outstanding as the 95 MK music or soundtrack, but when they use the MK theme in like just small increments where you can notice it at the right moments in the movie, you can really appreciate it, especially when it's orchestrated to sound very, very how do I put it? Orchestral like. Like you can hear the da 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 da. But then I wish they would have gone full Power Rangers 2017, where they just end up using the 90s theme instead of trying to orchestrate a whole new one. But I guess I did have that gripe with Power Rangers 2017 too, where they didn't make a new theme, so I guess it's better to have a new one rather than reuse the old one. If we do get a sequel, the only thing I really want to see is Liu Kang and Shang Tsung finally throw down, because finally, due to Shang Tsung sucking the soul out of Kung Lao, Liu Kang will have a definite goal in mind in the future, and the beef between those two will be justified. So then Ko Young doesn't have to take the spotlight away from him and be the one to fight Shang Tsung, because I would fucking hate that. Kano did pick up Shinnok's amulet when they entered Raiden's temple, and we didn't see him put it back, so he definitely still has it on him. So, for all we know, Quan Chi could just show up at Sonya's trailer park, revive Kano, and be like, "Give me the amulet, give me the amulet." And while I still think Kerry Tagawa's Shang Tsung is still the best Shang Tsung, well, I mean, obviously he's one of the only Shang Tsungs there. I can say that Chin Han, who plays the new Shang Tsung, channels a bit of Kerry Tagawa while also making the role his own. But it's a shame, really. I would have liked to see him pose as other fighters, even if just briefly, to fool him. But I guess he's all powerful, so he doesn't really have to fool anyone. I also like that little sound edit where, I don't know if anyone's realized it or brought it up, but when they're in Outworld and whenever they talk, there's like a little reverb and echo to their voices. So it's almost saying that Outworld has like is on a literal different frequency wave to how they talk. But then when he does enter Earthrealm, he talks and it has like that echoey still. So I guess that's just like a little sound edit to show you that he is composed of 1,000 souls, so he would be sounding like that rather than how he would sound in the 95 one, where it's just him being a human. While we did get a good chunk of Scorpion in the movie, I wish we would have seen a lot more. At least 3 fights at the most. But it was still a nice addition, though. I just hope that we get more Scorpion, or at least we get Scorpion back in the sequel, because at the end it seems like his spirit's freed, so he probably won't be making another appearance unless either Cole dies or he's resummoned. Now that I think about it, we never did get to see a character have or a character from Outworld have the dragon tattoo mark. So I'm assuming right now that Outworld does not have those dragon tattoo marks, maybe. Their abilities might just be natural. They might not have the Arcana mark, dragon tattoo mark. Because in the film, Sonya does say that it's just, if you get the dragon tattoo mark, that means you fight for Earthrealm. Which means the Outworld fighters might have a different mark, or they might not have a mark at all. And I guess the last thing I want to bring up is that whatever character we saw die in this movie is definitely not dead. I mean, sure, Bihan Sub-Zero may look dead, but he's going to be back as Noob Saibot. Molina was really they eliminated Molina a little too early, and I didn't like it either. But I'm pretty sure she'll come back. I mean, she is a clone after all. And Raiko, no idea. They'll probably bring him back somehow to have those face tattoos, giant face tattoos. And Goro, while it was a cool fight, and he died kind of anticlimactically to me at least. I think he's still definitely gonna come back for sure. I would not rule it out of the realm of possibility for Shang Tsung to be able to resurrect fighters. I mean, he is full of souls, so what's to say he can't give another soul out and just have that heal the Outworld fighters. Overall, I would rate it 7 dragon tattoos out of 10. It is a good watch. It is enjoyable. I do have my issues with it, such as the fight scene edits and the maybe just a bit of the Arcana gimmick. But hey, Mortal Kombat's back in the limelight, in the big screen. It was the first movie I got to see back in the big screen after a while, and it was a welcome surprise. Even if it wasn't the tournament arc, I'd say they still did a really great job by displaying all the stuff that you see from the video games and bringing it onto screen. And I hope for the sequel they can improve upon the things they did with this one, and finally get to do the tournament arc, and we get to see the fights in all their glories, and more fatalities and special moves. And that'll be all. If you made it this far into the video, I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you consider subscribing or donating to my Patreon, or following me on my social links, and I hope you enjoyed the video.